If you truly want to be the best like no one ever was at Pokemon Unite, then you need to earn your 8 Pokemon Unite gym badges. What? You haven't heard about the 8 badges in Pokemon Unite? Do not worry. In this guide, I will teach you how to master your lane, control your role, last hit like a champion, and most importantly, win that Zapdos fight. Whether you're a new trainer to MOBAs or you've been around the block more times than Officer Jenny, I can assure you that this guide will help lead you to the master rank. Come along with me, young trainer. Wake up, your mom's downstairs. It's time to get your first Pokemon and, of course, our first Pokemon badge. Before you can earn your Boulder badge and take on Brock, we need to know what we're doing with our Pokemon. Pokemon are divided into 5 categories, known as roles. In Pokemon games in the past, you needed to know type advantages. In this Pokemon game, you need to know what your job is. The 5 roles are Supporter, All-Rounder, Attacker, Defender, and Speedster, and each one serves an important purpose inside of a match. Supporter Pokemon like Wigglytuff, Mr. Mime, and Eldegoss help control the battlefield and keep your team alive. They are the lifeblood of a healthy team and lane. All-Rounders aren't just named that because they're round Pokemon. Don't worry, that's a horrible joke. I'll take it out. It won't make it into the final video. All-Rounders can do a lot of different jobs in the match, but oftentimes they are positioned in the lane with one of their teammates. As their name suggests, these Pokemon are all around pretty darn good. Somewhat tanky, somewhat strong, filling a lot of different roles in an encounter. Not as much damage as an attacker and not as much health as a defender, but they are certainly very powerful. Whether you see them engaging head-on or coming around the side and then slugging back and forth through the entire encounter, these Pokemon are great for mixing it up in a fight. And now we have our attacker-type Pokemon. You can reliably count on these Pokemon to be in the back line, dealing tons of damage at range. You want to make sure you protect these guys, but if you do, oh boy, they are taking everyone out. While each attacker is somewhat different, you can kind of separate them into a couple camps. Venusaur, Pikachu, Cramorant, and Gardevoir all feel like longer range artillery mage type characters, while Greninja and Cinderace are definitely more of your auto attack type characters, while they're very different themselves. And then Alolan Ninetales goes between the two. And boy, Alolan Ninetales is just so great, huh? Look how pretty. Our defenders are just like attackers but better. They do more damage. Just kidding. Defender's job is to defend other Pokemon. You are up front. You are moving Pokemon around. You're making sure that no one can get to your backline characters who are dealing the most damage. You are a defender. Finally, of course, our speedsters, often found in the jungle, poking out to get those quick KOs and then moving back into the shadows. Our speedsters are the quickest Pokemon, capable of helping the team secure an objective or take out one of those pesky attackers in the back line. The speedsters are the sneaky assassins of Pokemon Unite. Now that you understand your role in Pokemon Unite, and you will be switching between a lot of these different Pokemon, it's time to get your first badge. If you want to earn your Boulder badge, you're going to have to rip it from Brock's pervy weird hands. And the way you do that is understanding your lanes. That's right, your first badge is all about laning. Who goes top lane, who goes bottom lane, and who makes it into the jungle. Our map in Pokemon Unite is split into 2 lanes with a jungle dividing them. For now, we will discuss the 2 lanes. Throughout the beginning, I'd say at least third of the game, you're going to spend your time in one of the 2 lanes if you are not the match's jungler. Those lanes are occupied by 2 Pokemon each. Oftentimes in the top lane, you have a defender and an attacker type Pokemon. And while you could run any combination you would like, there is a good reason that you often have one Pokemon who deals a lot of damage and one Pokemon who supports that Pokemon inside of a lane. That reason is experience. We'll talk about experience and last hitting a little bit later. In the bottom lane, you'll often find a supporter Pokemon and an all-rounder. But of course, this can switch up and these 2 lanes are somewhat interchangeable. And as far as the jungle's concerned, speedsters often go in the jungle. However, there are many Pokemon that do very well inside the jungle. Before the match starts on the Pokemon Select screen, you can actually tell your team where you would like to go inside the game. With the very confusingly named ZL button, you can open up the Battle Prep screen. Here you can change held items, look at movesets, and pick a lane that you're going to go in. It also tells you what the game recommends as a good lane for your Pokemon. This is very useful and it helps your team know where everyone's going to be going inside the match. I know at first knowing where to go and deciding what your lane is can sound like a lot. But if that all makes sense, then congratulations. Here is your Boulder badge. Now get out of here, Brock. You should be in jail. Congratulations, your Pokemon Unite journey has just begun and you've earned your first badge. Now on to Cerulean City to obtain the Cascade badge. Not to see Misty, and it's not because she won't return my calls, because she absolutely wants to talk to me. Her phone's just being weird. To earn your Cascade badge, you need to understand what's happening with that big middle section of the map known as the jungle. Who should be there, and what's the best way to play if you end up in the jungle? A surprisingly large number of Pokemon do extremely well inside the jungle. At first, it would seem that the jungle is reserved for speedster-type Pokemon, and while I think that's the game's intent, there are many attackers and all-rounders who often do well inside the jungle. I've even seen some people put defenders inside the jungle, and it ain't too bad. But as a general rule for people starting the game, maybe leave it to your speedsters and all-rounders. The more you play, the more you'll realize that a lot of Pokemon benefit from the jungle. Right now, the current meta is a Pokemon named Cinderace being in the jungle. And let me tell you, he does really well in that jungle. So let's say you're a Talonflame. You use your battle prep screen to call the jungle before the match, and your allies decide to give it to you. You may be wondering, well, what do I do now? Here is a very basic look of what it's like to be in the jungle. Here you are, you're Talonflame, and you're making your way into the jungle. The first thing you do is you beat up on this lil pup. You gotta beat him pretty hard. He's not a real dog though, don't worry, you're not gonna go to jail for this. And then it's time to beat up on Ludicolo. Beat him up real good using all your skills. But don't worry, it's not a real Ludicolo. You will not go to jail for this. Heading down here to Bouffalant, it's time to, you guessed it, beat him up. Beat him up real good. This one you might go to jail for. Be careful. Don't let anyone know you did this. As you continue through the jungle, you have a choice. You can take both of these core fish if your allies have not done it. You may decide to take all of the wild Pokemon out so you're at a higher level, or you could decide that it's a pretty good time for what's known as a gank. That's when you head into either the bottom or top lane and you try to help your allies take out the opposing Pokemon. Just don't miss them like I did. A well-timed gank, which again is just popping out of the jungle to help one of the lanes and get a KO, can really make the difference, especially in the early game for your team. After that, you can help your team secure some of the wild Pokemon, or you can head back into the jungle. As a jungler, it's your job to farm the middle section of the map, taking out as many of these Pokemon as you can while moving back and forth between your ally lanes to help them secure KOs. That is the basics of jungling. Now you may be wondering, hey Jake, I noticed I had a blue and red aura around me when I beat up that Ludicolo and Bouffalant that I should have gone to jail for. What was that about? Well friend, when you beat those two Pokemon up and you're the one to get the last hit on them, you gain those auras. The blue aura allows you to do more damage to wild Pokemon, and the red aura slows down enemies that you hit with your basic attacks. It's really great for those ganks. Once you understand that, the next thing you'll need to understand is when it's time to secure some of the objectives inside the game. The objectives I'm talking about are Rotom and Dreadnought, which is something we'll get to in another badge. Now that you understand how the jungle works and who should be there, you've earned your Cascade badge. And if Misty said anything about me, don't worry, she's a crazy liar. Don't believe a word she says. We're now on our way to Vermilion City to earn the Thunder badge. While we've learned a lot, it's time to start figuring out how to best use our Pokemon. What moves do we want to use? What held items do we want to use? It's time for practice. Going inside the Pokemon screen from the main menu, you can take a look at every Pokemon available in the game, whether or not you have obtained them yet. You can head into the progression tab and you can see at what point the Pokemon evolves and at what levels they get new moves that you get to select. On this screen, you can also see more detailed information on what exactly the moves do when you use them in battle. You can also select to head into the practice area. I do have a more detailed guide on the practice area, but I think there are some great things to show you inside this video. You can select any Pokemon, again, whether you've obtained them or not. Select a battle item. I always recommend the eject button right now, but you can toy around with all of these items. They are on a cooldown and you get to bring one into battle. You also can select your held items, and I have more videos on my channel as well about held items, but in general, I would recommend Buddy Barrier on almost any Pokemon, and the other two items just something that works well for your Pokemon skill set. Cinderace is your basic attack damage carry Pokemon, so a Scope Lens and a Muscle Band work great, but there are a ton of held items to choose from. Again, I would recommend watching a specific video about held items so you can know which ones to upgrade. Once you've selected your Pokemon, you select your enemy. Don't worry, they're not going to do really anything at all. And now it's time to head into the practice arena. The practice arena is an awesome place to understand your moves as well as your controls. You can level your Pokemon up as many times as you want. You can make them invincible. You can turn move cooldowns off so you can zip around the battlefield using low sweep as many times as you'd like. And you can also change your controls inside this mode. There are other places to change your controls, but I think this is a great place to do it because you can toy around with it and see if you like your new options. To change your controls, press the plus button and go to settings. Many of these options are up to personal preference, but I would recommend choosing either lowest remaining HP percent or HP value for the opponent lock-on priority. Closest is often not the best choice when it comes to locking onto an enemy. As far as controls, you can choose between default and advanced. It's not too advanced to choose advanced, but boy, it helps you out a lot. Pick advanced and you can use B to attack nearby wild Pokemon and A to attack enemy Pokemon. You can have your automatic basic attacks on or off. I usually prefer to have them off, and you can turn your boosted attack gauge on. This is the gauge that is under your health bar and lets you know how many attacks before your next boosted attack. In motion pursuit seems to be something that the game kind of does automatically, but I do turn it off. And as far as scoring controls go, please change it to press button. It will save you so many times. Camera follows moves is nice because it lets you see where your move is going to go. If it has an extended range, the camera moves with it. The move aim follows movement I often have as off, and move aim snaps to nearby targets on, but you know what? I'm not 100% positive that's the best. Here we have camera sensitivity with your mini-map up and your mini-map down. I prefer to turn this quite high. It just allows me to scroll a little faster. As far as mini-map placement, I keep it up in the top left. After you're done playing around with your controls, I would recommend opening your practice options back up, leveling your Pokemon up, and trying out different move sets for your Pokemon. You'll understand exactly what your Pokemon are doing in battle if you spend some time here figuring your moves out. As far as which movesets are best, I think it's different for every playstyle, but there are some that seem to be most advantageous. If you'd like to know what's best for a specific Pokemon, I'd recommend looking for a guide on that Pokemon. I have guides for almost every single Pokemon on my channel. I know it's a lot to take in. This world of Pokemon Unite is big and wonderful, but if you got all that, then congrats. Here is your Thunder Badge. Now we head towards Celadon City, where Gym Leader Erica will give us our Rainbow Badge, as long as she's not being absolutely crazy that day. If she has anything bad to say about me, don't worry, she's frigging nuts. If we want to earn our 4th badge, we need to understand last hitting and experience. Gaining experience and levels in Pokemon is one of the most important things that happens inside of a match. Oftentimes, your jungle Pokemon is the highest level Pokemon on your team. That's because they're able to defeat the most wild Pokemon. The more wild Pokemon you defeat and the more enemies you KO, the higher your experience will be. This is also why the lanes are often divided between a supporter and attacker, or supporter and all-rounder, or a defender attacker, defender all-rounder. As best as you can as a defender and supporter, you want to not take the last hits on wild Pokemon. Whichever Pokemon scores the last hit on either team gets a bulk of the experience and all the Eos energy. We will talk about Eos energy and scoring in a little bit here, but let's continue talking about experience. As best you can, you'd like your Pokemon that deal the most damage to be the highest level. So if you're a Snorlax and you're in lane with a Cinderace, you would like that Cinderace to get a little more powerful than you. The reason being that near the end of the match, it's often your carry Pokemon or your attacker Pokemon that deal the most damage and can help you secure a Zapdos or win a team fight. Your job as a supporter or defender is not to be completely underleveled, but to let them get more experience while you protect them in battle and they get all the glory. It doesn't seem fair, but it really is how it goes. Here is an example of me playing one of my favorite Pokemon, Eldegoss, a supporter Pokemon. I'm going into the bottom lane here with this Crustle, an odd lane combination, but I want to let Crustle have as many of the Pokemon last hits as I can. You see, I attack the Apoms, and then as their health is low, I leave them and I let Crustle clean them up. As long as there are no enemy Pokemon around these wild Pokemon contesting them, which basically just means fighting over them trying to get the last hit themselves, I would like to give them all to Crustle if possible. Again, this is an odd laning combination, but more often it would be me laning with a Lucario or Ninetales. Now Crustle and I are in an interesting position because we are fighting over one Pokemon that would generally be considered their wild Pokemon. Obviously we want to take it, so in this sense I don't mind that I got the last hit. I would like Crustle to get it if possible, but in general, if you're fighting over wild Pokemon with the enemy team, whoever can get it is great. That is last hitting. And as best you can, you want to use it to power up your carry Pokemon. Simply put, defenders and support, leave those last hits for your attackers and speedsters and all-rounders. And if you and the enemy team are both fighting over a Pokemon, for instance this Vespiquen and Combee that spawn, then I say whoever can get it, go for it. Take it from them. Now that you're last hitting like a pro, here is your rainbow badge. But this is no time to rest on our laurels. It's time to head to Fuchsia City and obtain the Soul Badge. Fuchsia City's gym is run by Koga, and he's one tough customer. But trust me, he's a really cool guy. He's not phony like some of these gym leaders who act like I'm the jerk when they're really the jerk. If we want our Soul Badge, we need to learn a little bit about scoring. Scoring is the victory condition in Pokemon Unite. It doesn't matter how many KOs you have or how many wild Pokemon you take down. If you don't score more points than the enemy, you will lose. So here is some guidance that will help you master scoring and get that Soul Badge. Scoring in Pokemon Unite is pretty simple, but there are some nuances to it that will help you be a better player. Getting the last hit on wild Pokemon or KOing enemy Pokemon will help fill your Eos energy. You can see your Eos energy right above that little purple and orange Pokeball in the middle of the screen there. At any time, you can head to one of your opponent's goals and you can score. All you have to do is press X to begin the scoring animation. The more Eos energy you're holding, the longer it takes to score. The less Eos energy you have, the less time it takes to score. Under 10, you score relatively quickly. The reason the time it takes to score can be a problem is because when an enemy hits you while you're trying to score, it stops you from scoring, unless you are using the held item Score Shield, and then you have a little longer to score because enemies have to break through your shield first. Basically, there are good times to score and bad times to score. You can see me running by our team's goals here. The innermost goal can be scored on as much as possible, the secondary goal up to 100 points, and the outermost goal up to 80 points. Each of these goals can also be over-scored on or over-dunked on. So basically, if you were to have 50 points and the goal has 10 points left, if you scored on it, you would score an additional 40 points. Again, this is called over-dunking, and strategically, it's a good move. You can see here the enemy goal only has 3 out of 80 points left, but I was able to score 26 on it because I had 26 Eos energy in reserve. A good rule of thumb is, if I have 40 Eos energy and an ally of mine has 10, and both of them would destroy the goal zone, meaning they're more than the goal zone can accept, let the person with more Eos energy score. It just gives your team more points in the long run. I know you might not get the goal, but it will be better at the end of the game. And trust me, as I've said in a previous video, I have lost games by 1 or 2 points. So being conscious of this while you're scoring is a really good thing. Also, in the last 2 minutes of the match, every goal is worth double. So if you have 50 points and it's 2 minutes 10 seconds on the clock, I would really try to wait, if you could, to score those 50 points because it will be worth 100. You did it, kid. I'm proud of you. Here is your Soul Badge. Now, on to Saffron City to obtain our Marsh Badge. The gym leader of Saffron City is Sabrina, and boy, her and I have always had that will they, won't they relationship. But the timing was never right. And if you want to earn your Marsh Badge, you need to understand the timing inside Pokemon Unite. Pretty clever how I did that. I will reward myself with a pat on the back. Here I am inside the practice mode of Pokemon Unite so I can show you the timing of all the wild Pokemon inside the game that are extremely relevant. As you make your way up to either the top or bottom lane, the wild Pokemon inside that lane spawn at 9 minutes 40 seconds. That is this little Apom up here, this little Apom down below, as well as this little Corphish in the middle here that people often fight between. The bottom lane has an almost identical setup, except they have an Audino instead of a Corphish. Here we have a jungle Corphish. I would not be taking this Pokemon if my jungle Pokemon was going to, but if my jungle Pokemon happens to be in the bottom lane, I know that it will respawn in time and I can take this Pokemon as a top laner. At 9 minutes, a Corphish spawns behind our first goal, right over here. This can be a dangerous wild Pokemon to take because sometimes your enemies will score on you, and it also might make you late for this important fight. At 8 minutes 50 seconds, the Combees and Vespiquen spawn. There's a lot of experience and Eos energy up for grabs, so this is often a hotly contested area to fight in. 5 seconds after that, at 8 minutes 45 seconds, a bunch of Corphish spawn in the center of the jungle here. Usually these are taken by your jungle Pokemon, but either team can take them if they have the ability. Back inside your lane, the Corphish and Apoms that are near yours and your opponent's goals will spawn every minute after you KO them. The Combee and Vespiquen, however, are on a different timer, and they seem to spawn regardless of when you KO'd them at a certain time frame, 7 minutes 20 seconds after the first spawn at 8 minutes 50 seconds. It won't be insanely relevant to know the spawn time of every single wild Pokemon, but the first few are very important, because after the first few, it's time to focus on the bigger objective Pokemon, Dreadnought and Rotom. Finally, after that, Zapdos. So let's look at the timing for Dreadnought and Rotom. 30 seconds before Dreadnought and Rotom spawn, you see their timers pop up on the map. This mini-map is extremely important to show you where the enemies are and also to focus on the timing of these fights. And it's really important to notice that I called them fights. These are very important objectives that you're going to want to team fight over. If you're not team fighting over them and you're letting the enemy team take Dreadnought especially and Rotom, you are going to lose the match, almost always. After you defeat Dreadnought or Rotom, they are on a 2-minute timer. Just like before, you will see a 30-second timer pop up on the top and bottom of the map when they are coming back, and that is again another indicator that it is time to get to that area and get ready to fight. Dreadnought is incredibly important. I'll talk more about it in a moment, but I really think the game is almost decided by who wins those two Dreadnought fights more than it's decided by the inevitable Zapdos fight at the 2-minute mark. And of course, perhaps the most important timing, Zapdos. At 2 minutes, Zapdos spawns. So just like Dreadnought and Rotom, you will see a 30-second countdown when that Pokemon is coming to spawn in the center of the map. This is the biggest team fight and most pivotal moment of the game. Something to also note, if you're fighting Rotom or Dreadnought and Zapdos then spawns, they poof, go away. No more Rotom, no more Dreadnought. Once Zapdos is here, they are gone. You can take out Rotom and Dreadnought if you have a team there and just about 10 seconds left if everyone focuses on it. So now here we are with under 2 minutes left fighting Zapdos. Every Pokemon on the match has a different timer for when they spawn, but those are some of the most relevant ones that you're going to need to know, so you can prepare yourself for the inevitable team fights. You know what they say the most important element of Pokemon Unite and comedy is. Me? Oh. Timing! Ah! God, you scared me. Enjoy your Marsh badge. We're almost to the end. Now it's time to head to Cinnabar Island and deal with Blaine to acquire the Volcano badge. And what do you need to do to beat Blaine and get this Volcano badge? Well, you need to know the name of the game, baby. And that is Unite.
Pokémon Unite!
Oh, right. Sorry, it's called Pokemon Unite. Sometimes I just say Unite.
Pokémon Unite!
Right, I get it. I was just explaining why I said Unite.
Pokémon Unite!
Ah, okay. The name of the game is Pokemon Unite. Now, can I finish making my point? I think something that's lost on a lot of newer trainers out there is the game is called Pokemon Unite not just because they're uniting Pokemon with the ability to use your credit card. The game is called Pokemon Unite because very soon into the game, it is time to team up. Get these Pokemon united. Take down objectives together. Very, very early inside this game, because it is such a short match timer, only 10 minutes, you need to get with your team and start going after objectives. The objectives we just talked about in the timing section. Dreadnought at 7 minutes, you better be there. Are 3 of your teammates fighting at Rotom? Yeah, you should probably be there. You're a support after all. And of course, when it's getting closer to the 2-minute mark, maybe stay out of some very dicey situations so that you can be ready and positioned with your team to fight Zapdos. There's no hard and fast rule or exact science to how you should unite and team up, but let me tell you, the more often you can be paired with allies, the better. The only times I think you should be spread out are in the early game, around the 2-minute 30-second mark into the game, so 7 minutes 30 seconds on the clock. You should probably be rotating down to Dreadnought if you're in the top lane, or if you're in the jungle or bottom lane, getting ready for that encounter. After that, the basic laning phase changes a lot. It's really time to start rolling with your team. Back up to Rotom possibly if you won or lost Dreadnought and would like to secure that. And then until we're nearing the 2-minute mark, you want to be rolling with your team towards any of the larger objectives. And when those are not up, you want to spend your time farming Pokemon inside the lanes and jungle area. I cannot stress this enough, but this is a team game. You are not a useful defender if you are up in the top lane by yourself while your team loses a team fight in the bottom lane. It's time to unite. Pokemon Unite! Jeez, dude, I was even gonna say it. Come on. You did it. You earned your Volcano badge. Congratulations, trainer. Now it's time for the final badge, the Earth badge. Back in Viridian City, we deal with Giovanni, one of the leaders of Team Rocket, who, let's face it, is a group of losers who all use Raticates and Arboks. They are a terrible team. But there is one more important thing you need to learn if you're going to get your Earth badge, and that is how to deal with the Zapdos fight. At the end of most matches, both teams coalesce around Zapdos, and this is the biggest fight of the game. While strong play throughout the game puts you in the best position to win this fight, in fact, I think if your team wins most of the Rotoms and all the Dreadnoughts, you have a very, very high likelihood of winning the match regardless of what happens at Zapdos. Zapdos can be the thing that changes the game entirely. You need to know how to fight around Zapdos. Let's first start with the basics. The basics are, don't start fighting Zapdos right away when both teams have 5 people on them. It really is not a benefit to you to start chipping away health from Zapdos when there are a ton of enemy player Pokemon around you. You need to win a team fight at Zapdos before you try to take Zapdos. You also need to decide if you even need Zapdos to win. If your team is clearly in the lead and you don't think they can come back without taking Zapdos, I would highly advise against attacking Zapdos. This is a great time to zone the enemy out, perhaps get a score or two, make sure they don't sneak a bunch of goals on you, but most importantly, don't let them have Zapdos. If you don't need it and they do, you are in a power position. Allow the enemy team to push into a dangerous situation and then have your team collapse on their units, specifically in the order of their carry units first. So someone like Cinderace, Pikachu, Greninja, those ones need to go down right away. After that, you can take care of whoever was in their jungle, their speedsters and all-rounders, and then finally their defenders and support. Usually you get the support before the defender, but boy, that Eldegoss takes forever to get rid of. Most importantly though, get rid of those carry units. If you are the team in the lead and you manage to win a great team fight, you can take Zapdos, but just remember, if they have an opportunity and one of their Pokemon steals it by getting the last hit, no matter how much damage you did to it, they get Zapdos and could turn the match around. I would highly recommend not taking Zapdos if you have a very secure win. Now let's talk about another situation that unfolds near Zapdos. Your team and their team are very, very close in points. Maybe they snuck a goal a moment ago and you're not really sure who's ahead, but you know that this Zapdos fight is very important. You still need to make sure that enough of the enemy team is down before you start attacking Zapdos. I know the Cinderaces and Garchomps can really chunk that health down very, very fast, but if you are in a battle with the enemy during this fight, at any moment they could steal it and you lost everything. Then, of course, there's the final situation that nobody wants to be in. Well, I guess there's one other that I'll bring up, but the final situation that is unfortunate is your team is losing. You have lost a team fight around Zapdos. 2 to 3 of the people on your team have been knocked out, and the enemy team is now beginning to attack it. Your only hope here, really, is being able to steal Zapdos. And what that means is just watching Zapdos' life gauge and hoping you can use something to take Zapdos in the last moment. If you do this right here, you might be able to swing the game in your favor. But generally, you need to win the team fight around Zapdos to win. Now, for the situation that made me laugh just thinking about it. Your team's doing great, there's no reason to do this, and one of your people starts attacking Zapdos, another one joins in, and your team is now split up. This moment is pretty chaotic, and it's not what should be happening, but it is what happens from time to time. My recommendation would be to help your team secure Zapdos if at all possible, because you are going for it regardless. This is solo queue play. You are thrown into a situation that you don't want to be in. The question is, how can you help your team the best? If you have the ability to pick off enemies as they come in, go for it. If you don't, and you're a defender, make sure you push enemies away from Zapdos. If you do a lot of damage, like a Cinderace, well, I guess it's time for you to start attacking Zapdos because your team has decided to do it. Let's hope you can secure that Zapdos. Let's say you secure Zapdos. What do you do then? Well, it's a mad dash to the enemy goals. Everyone goes to a different one, dunking as many points as possible. If you have 50 points, you will dunk 100. This is easy. Just run to them. Do not worry about the enemies. Get around them. Do whatever you have to do. Use your eject buttons. If you make it to the goal, just keep hitting X. You will deposit. After that, if there's still some time on the clock and all of your allies have deposited, I would recall. Head back to base and get ready to defend any goals. It's very possible that you've won the match at this point, hands down. The opposing team has probably already surrendered. But if not, and they're running in and trying to score on your goals, it would be good to hang out at your launch pad and get ready to land on them. Let's talk about what would happen if you didn't secure Zapdos and the enemy team did. If the match is a complete blowout, I would recommend surrendering here. I personally am not a big fan of surrendering because a lot of people try to surrender early in a match when they lose one fight and they just get upset. However, once the enemy team has dunked enough points on you that you can never come back, yeah, that's fine. You don't need to play it out. Just go ahead and surrender and move on to the next match. No big deal. Now let's say you're in this position, which does happen quite often. Your team has been winning all game. You know you're ahead on points, but the enemy team managed to get Zapdos. However, you're not sure how many of them are going to make it into score. My number one focus is taking out 1 or 2, if possible, of the enemy Pokemon before they can make it to your goal. Anything you can do to push them, shove them, knock them into the air, pick them up with telekinesis, or just attack them and do an insane amount of damage, unite moves, everything, I think it's time to throw it all at the enemies. If you can knock a few of them out before they make it to your goals and only 1 or 2 enemy Pokemon are able to score, you can still win this thing even if you lost the Zapdos fight. So how does it feel, trainer? You did it. You earned all 8 gym badges. Now, you're ready to head on to Victory Road in the Elite Four. It's time to start climbing the ranks in ranked mode. There's still a ton to learn in Pokemon Unite, and I hope I covered a lot of it here for you. But this should give you a great understanding of what is going on in the game and how you can best serve your team. I think that's a good thing to always keep in mind. How can you be a good teammate? You're going to get matched with some people who are very frustrating, who act like jerks, and you're just going to have to move on from it. But you're not going to be like that. You're going to be a good ally. You're going to move with your team. You're not going to get upset. You're not going to spam voice commands. You're not going to report people for no reason. You are going to play the game to win and to have fun. Let's remember, it is a game after all. You're going to lose a lot. A lot. Thank you for watching or listening to this. I hope you enjoyed it. It took me way too long. I'll never make something like it again. If you did enjoy it, please like, comment, subscribe, share it, tell a friend. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you all, and I will see you on the battlefield. Mwah. That was a kiss.